What's up, guys? This is my second video on this topic. This is a part 2 of the cosmic osmosis video that I put out a while ago. That got a lot of feedback, a lot more than I thought, actually, and it was all like really good feedback. I'm not gonna lie. Most of the comments were super beneficial to the addition of this project, and this video is just the addition, just like more, you know what I mean? It's just building on. You guys know how this works, but it's been a struggle. It has been a struggle. I thought I had a grasp. I thought I had no, not even a grip. I thought I had a grasp. Like, I got the general idea of the topic. I really didn't, and I still don't now. This one has a lot more advanced math, because the math was really lacking before, but this math is more like hand put in, you know what I mean? It's not derived from anything, and so it's still not even close to being good theory. Fine-tuning still plays a part of this, which I've been trying to figure out a way to avoid that, but I really can't. I'm working on it, though. Any suggestions would be amazing, but I'm working on it. It's getting rough, but I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll throw some comments on screen probably if I edit, which I probably will. I doubt I can do this in one take, but yeah, you guys were awesome. I don't know if the same people are gonna see this next video, because I haven't made a video in months. Also, sorry about the headphone. I get really camera shy, and music helps a lot. Yeah, so I don't know if it comes off as unprofessional, but it's a YouTube video in my bedroom in front of a bookshelf, so I don't know how much less professional we can get, but yeah, so we're gonna start right now. So let's do I got my computer right here, by the way, because I worked on the script while watching Breaking Bad maybe 2 hours ago, so do not have it memorized at all. So it's probably the most eye contact you're gonna get for the video. But let's start with a recap of the last video, which was, a fairly simple plan. And so I put, all right, quick reminder of the original video idea so everyone's on the same page. In the Randall-Sundrum model of our universe, we have a 3-dimensional brain sitting inside of a 5-dimensional anti-de Sitter bulk. And gravity, this is the hierarchy problem that the Randall-Sundrum theory, worked on and addressed in their thing. It's saying that gravity looks so weak to us because gravitons, which is the particle form of gravity, can leak out into our brain, or a 3-dimensional brain, 4th being time, 3 physical dimension, but I don't want to specify that each time, so just say 3 dimensions, into the 5-dimensional anti-de Sitter bulk. And so just the gravitons inside are leaking out, making gravity weaker. And so that's a very dumbed down, recap of his theory. He had it was different people, Randall and Sundrum, different last names. So don't assume it was just like Randall Sundrum himself soloing this. But the team of people, let's go with, did an amazing job. They did really impressive work, a lot of math. That's impressive for me. I got like a C in geometry, so not a mathematician here, but they were awesome. And so my theory, or my expansion on it, was that if gravitons can leak out through the pores in the brain, I was thinking maybe vacuum energy can come in through a concept called cosmic osmosis that takes the place of dark matter. That we observe as dark energy. My fault, I'm tired today. At the time, it was mostly an analogy. The math, like I said earlier, was really weak. It's still not the best, but it's definitely, it is more string theory-esque, if that makes sense. And so, there wasn't really a lot of controlled equations in the last one. It was more just a geometric picture, if that makes sense. Like the whiteboards I showed in the last one, which I got my whiteboard somewhere. I think it's right down there. Yeah, it was just an idea. And so a lot of the comments, like I mentioned again earlier, pointed out a lot of major problems. I mean, the whole theory was a problem. Still is, but it's better now. I think it's just too interesting to improve on it. And I'm sorry this video took so long to come out. I've been working on a lot of other projects right now. That is much more grounded than this one. Grounded as in like real. Like, this one's just yapping as a hypothesis. The other ones are actual, like, it's not physics related, it's biology, oncology stuff. Different video for a different time. But for this video, I think you guys, like, I think my explanation was enough. I kind of explained it more, and I kind of just listed the issues here. Even if energy did flow, and you still need an insane suppression factor, which we, like, fine-tuned in this one, with something like 10 to the minus 120 to get the observed dark energy. So I'm drinking, it's chocolate milk. I'm nervous. So, it's iced chocolate milk. So it's like a mocha, but without the coffee. But, like, a mocha is kind of just chocolate milk anyways. Might be a bad take. But, you know. Yeah, there's also no dynamical field controlling how we open or close the pores. So we kind of addressed that here a bit more. The main addition, sorry, I'll probably cut this out. The rest of my dock isn't loading. Sorry, my Wi-Fi, atrocious. It is impressively bad. Okay, there we go. Sorry, the formula, I don't know if you ever tried putting, like, a formula in Google Docs. I know you're supposed to use, like, overleaf latex. You can't code. It's not really coding, anyways. But I just do Google Docs and insert photos of the formulas. I didn't do all that work, and so I just have to, like, transcribe the weird-looking stuff for you guys. Which is no problem, because I like making these videos. And so the main change was that I introduced a new scalar field, which I'm calling the filter. Sorry, last sip, I introduced a new scalar field, which I'm calling the filter field, which is represented by this guy. And the idea is that the field comes from the open string moduli associated with the D brain defects that create the pores. So D brain excitations are just going to be the pores on the brain, just so it's a little more grounded inside string theory and M theory. So it's not just like holes in a brain. Not doing a whole lot for us. So this, explains kind of what the pores are in a more real way. This controls how permeable those pores are, and the filter function is just an exponential. That's the formula. So when the filter field is large, this exponential becomes tiny and almost turns off the pores, which strongly suppresses the energy flow, obviously. And so let me show the filter function again, but a bit more clearly. So the filter thing is I don't know the name of the actual term. Sorry, but it's on screen, I would think. So this is the value of the filter field. M is just the mass scale that sets the units. You can think of it as the natural energy scale associated with the pores and the D brain defects. The important part of this formula is the minus sign and the exponent. Phi is the value of the filter field. And M is just the mass scale that sets the units. You can think of it as the natural energy scale, which is associated with the pores and the D brain defects. The important part is the minus sign and the exponent. Because of the minus sign, the larger phi gets, the smaller the field becomes. When phi is many times bigger than M, the phi essentially becomes 0. The pores are almost completely closed, so no energy is going through. And that's how the filter can provide the enormous suppression we need. Except this is a problem, this is a part of the fine-tuning issue that I mentioned earlier. which is just a big part of this so far. A lot of the formulas like this one coming up are going to be educated guesses, as I didn't completely derive them. I'm in no capability to derive them at all. Not nearly as smart or educated enough to do that. Except, this is an educated guess, I'm trying my best here. But to get 5 from just sort of rolling wherever it wants, I gave it a potential inspired by moduli stabilization formulas, which looks like this. This is an energy potential for the field phi. V0 sets the overall height of this potential, with A and B are just numbers we can choose. MPI is the normal 4-dimensional Planck mass. The shape of this potential is designed so that it has a minimum of some large positive value of phi, and once phi settles into that minimum, it kind of stays there, and that locked in large value of phi is what keeps the field Fi extremely small for a long time, allowing small amounts of energy to come in. And with the filter in place, I wrote down an expression for the net energy flux across the brain, which is the sort of big formula for this so far. This is the, like I said, the central formula, so we're going to go through it pretty slowly. The first letter, I was trying to say number. The first major point is J, which is the net energy flux. It's how much energy is crossing from the bulk and onto a brain per unit time, per unit area. The next part of the formula contains the brain tension and factors of the Planck length. It sets the overall strength of the pores, with the next part being the Randall-Sundrum warp factor. It tells us that the flux feels the same warping that gravity feels. Things get exponentially suppressed as you move in the extra dimension. I am not capable. I didn't know what else to do, so I just took, the Randall-Sundrum warp metric. In later concepts, I might change it and update it, but for now, it explains that the hierarchy problem and cosmological constant problem could be solved the same way, but we're nowhere near solving it, not even close. But we are using the Randall-Sundrum warp factor for now. It tells us the flux that feels the same warping. I just said that, sorry. F of phi is the filter that we just talked about. It can turn the flow up or down depending on the value of phi. The last part, which is P bulk minus POBS, is the density difference that actually drives the flow. P bulk is the vacuum energy density in the higher dimensional bulk, and POBS is the vacuum energy we see on our brain, which we kind of described. That was a major part of the formulas in the last video. Because energy tends to move from high density to low density, that difference decides both the direction and the strength of the osmotic flow. If the bulk has a higher vacuum energy than our brain, the difference is positive and the energy flows inward. The transdimensional pressure that actually pushes on our brain is just proportional to that flux, which is P trans equals Kj. J being the net energy flux that we discussed earlier, while K is a coupling constant that converts the energy flux into an effective pressure felt in 4 dimensions. So P trans is just taking the net energy flux and turning it into pressure. More flux means more pressure. It's just, to say like weirdly, a linear relationship. And to get this into cosmology, you have to project the 5-dimensional Einstein equations onto the brain. That's where the Israel junction conditions come in. Basically, the Israel conjunctions are the rules that tell you how the geometry on either side of the brain has to match up with whatever energy is sitting on the brain itself. I sort of augmented those conditions with extra contributions coming from the defects, which are the pores. And when you do that, the effective 4-dimensional Friedmann equation picks up a new term, and it sort of looks like this. This is rough. H squared is the square of the Hubble parameter, which is just how fast the universe is expanding. And then the first term, I'm taking speech therapy to, fix how I pronounce. But the first term is just ordinary matter and radiation, with the next term being, just any bare cosmological constant that might already be present on the brain. The next term is a classic brain world correction that becomes important when energy densities are very high, which is especially potent in the early universe. The second to last addition is the new term coming from osmotic pressure. This is the piece that is unique to the model. The dark radion terms are leftover bulk effects that behave like an extra radiation component. Most of these terms are the usual ones that already appear in brain world cosmology, so this isn't completely new. The only new term is the beta P strands. And so, at late times in the universe, when matter and radiation have practically diluted away, that osmotic term can dominate and get something that behaves like a cosmological constant. Here's the formula for that. Here, all the constants have been absorbed into the Y thing, with the expansion rate of the universe is now controlled by the filter and by the density difference between bulk and a brain, which is just the osmotic mechanism. If you plug in typical Randall syndrome numbers for the curvature scale, the coupling constant K, and the warp factor, you let the filter sit at a value somewhere between 10 to the negative 80 and 10 to the negative 100. The energy density you get is roughly the size of the observed energy density, just a little bit off. So at the level of order of magnitude estimates, it can be made to kind of work. I also sketched out a few extra connections. The same extra dimension gives you a tower of Kaluza-Klein particles, and the lightest stable one could be a dark matter candidate, whose interactions are influenced by the filter field. Right after the brain forms, the density gradient would be huge, so the osmotic pressure could have driven a short period of inflation. The whole setup can kind of sit on top of the usual intersecting D-brain constructions that people use to get the standard model. And that's the upgraded version of the theory so far. A big improvement from the last theory, except this theory still has its own issues, which we will go through now. This is my favorite part. And so even with all this, the biggest problem is still here. I hand-picked the stabilized value of phi so that f of 5 is insanely small. This is basically the original cosmological constant fine-tuning problem, just moved into the vacuum expectation of the value of the filter field. Nothing in the potential I wrote dynamically forces phi to the exact value we need, so I have to put it there by hand. So it's still fine-tuning, unfortunately. And second, the flux formula is still kind of just an educated guess, or to get fancy in ansatz. I wrote it down because it gives the late time behavior I want, not because I started from a 5-dimensional action and derived from it. A real derivation, sorry, I had to Google that word earlier, would have to come from the bulk Einstein equations plus the proper defect sources. And so another thing is, I haven't really checked the back reaction. If energy is continuously flowing onto the brain, that energy source is the brain's stress energy tensor, which in turn affects the warp factor in the bulk geometry. It's not obvious that the simple Randall syndrome throat stays stable once you turn that flow on, so that calculation is still missing. So the model is more structured and has more moving parts in the first version, but it is still phenomenological. It reframes the two big problems, but it doesn't really solve them just yet. What I'm planning to do next is pretty straightforward. It's just adding the extra formulas and attempting to find the fine-tuning, how to fix fine-tuning, which no one's really done yet. I don't think I'm going to be the first, but not with that attitude. So I'll figure it out. I still have a lot to learn in this field. I know next to nothing so far, but we're working on it. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. The comments in the last video were so extremely helpful, and this is everything I've said is basically the extent of my knowledge. I didn't make a bunch of brand new formulas. I kind of built off of old ones in brain cosmology. And so I would still like to expand this theory, but it's not going to be top of mind. If I get enough interesting comments or whatever, like that helps with suggestions or gives me any new ideas, I will make an updated video. Or if I just want to continue this, I'll update it. But I think this might just be the end for now. But we'll see. You know, there could be more. I have other projects in the works, but I don't know if I'm going to upload it on YouTube for now, since I'm emailing it out to professors. Except every professor on the West Coast was not replied. And so, so we'll see. We'll see. I'm still working on it. It's still choppy. I mean, it's pretty choppy. I'm not even gonna kid you. But yeah. Thank you so much for watching this video. Everyone who leaves a comment is super helpful. Thank you so much. And if you subscribe, you'll boost my confidence. So that's awesome. Love that. So yeah, thank you again so much for watching. And that's about it. I'll see you guys in like 6 months when I decide to put out another video. But yeah, thank you guys.